So the Anacostia River is actually located very close by here, literally a 10-minute drive from us. It's the head of the river starts in Bladensburg, which is like 10 minutes down Route 1 if you drive down there. So it's very close by to us. We are in the watershed of the Anacostia, so we should care about it. So it's a nice little segue. So this is the watershed of the Anacostia here, and you can see College Park is right in there, Hyattsville, so we are literally situated on the watershed of the Anacostia. So the main stem of the river flows through the southern region of DC. And it starts in Bladensburg, as I said, and there are 13 sub-watersheds in the Anacostia Basin, which cover both Maryland and the river receives a large amount of runoff from things like storm drains, combined sewer overflows, and urban drainage ditches. Does anybody know what a combined sewer overflow is? Sorry. Anybody ever heard of a combined sewer overflow? Okay, so a combined sewer overflow is a very old way of constructing sewer systems. And basically what you have is the sewer lines and the storm drainage lines, which bring water from drains and stuff around, surface drains, empty into the same location. So you have, anytime there's a huge rainfall or big snow melt like we had back in January with the blizzard, a lot of excess water gets into the sewer system from the storm drain, and the contingency plan for this, because the wastewater treatment plant cannot handle the volume of water, the water just raw sewage and storm drain overflow goes into the Anacostia River. So that's just how the system was designed back in the day, and it's very old, very antiquated, and actually now DC Water is trying to separate the two systems, like combine the combined sewer system. But that carries a huge amount of runoff, a huge amount of microbial contamination into the river itself, because you have raw sewage just getting into the river when there's a heavy rainfall. So, and the Anacostia River is designated as one of the 3 highest priority regions of concern within the Chesapeake Bay watershed, and anything that is in the Anacostia gets into the Chesapeake Bay. So that's another thing to consider. So there's a long history of contamination of the river. Over the years, there's been sites along the river that have contaminated it with PCBs, things like PCBs, heavy metals. Does anybody know what PCBs are?
Polychlorinated biphenyls?
Yes. And pHs. Anybody know what pHs are? Those are polycyclic aromatic hydrocompounds. So both of those are organic chemicals that are released from different processes that occur at these different sites along the river. And if you look, I'm not sure if you can see them, but they're numbered sites, and those sites represent places like Old Kenilworth landfill, Old Pepco electricity site, Washington Gas, which is another electricity site, the Navy Yard, which is a military facility, and that facility also would have released things over the years of testing their ammunition and so on. And all of these, over several years, have released these PCBs, pH, and heavy metals into the river, and they're known as legacy pollution sites because of the number of years that's been happening. And you also have things like the combined sewer overflows I mentioned, and there's waste, littering, pesticides, all that's been getting into the river, and it's been making it into the contaminated state that it is today. This is an Anacostia River report card, and this is put out by a non-profit group called the Anacostia Watershed Society. Anybody's heard of them? Okay, so the Anacostia Watershed Society is also located very nearby to us, and they're basically on the river almost. And they do individual testing every year to sort of figure out where the river is at, because there's been a push to remediate the river over the years, but not a lot of action. A whole lot of talk, not much action is being taken by the government agencies. So every year they do things like they go out and take water samples, and they come up with their own score for the river. And 2014, which is the most recent year that they've had a report card published, they give the river an F, which has been consistent over several years, which means that we have a lot of work to do. And fecal bacteria is one of the major concerns because of all that sewage that comes in from the combined sewer overflow. These are just a couple pictures of the Anacostia. So the top left, there's Pepco electricity site. There's pictures of like trash. That's actual trash on the Anacostia. It looks like a carpet of trash at times when it's really bad. On the right is the top right is the Waterfront Park, which is where I said it's like 10 or 15 minute drive from there. That sign on the left, Anacostia River, you may have seen that because it's on Route 1 on your way here or from here. And people canoeing, kayaking, and so on. And then on the middle right, that picture is of a warning sign that's present at many spots along the river, warning you about the combined sewer overflow. That picture was actually taken in Georgetown. So if you all know Georgetown in DC, it's basically telling you that pollution occurs during rainfall because of the combined sewer overflow problem, and warning you not to go in the river or anything like that. So subsistence fishing is one of the reasons that we should be concerned about the river, because there are people who subsistence fish on the Anacostia, and subsistence fishing means you fish for food, not fish for sport. So there are people who are actually fishing out of the river even though it's so contaminated. So that's where the problem comes in. And this actually happens at many urban rivers across the country. Many people across the country catch, consume, and share fish from highly contaminated urban rivers. And these rivers are contaminated because they're located within cities. And that's usually, back in the day when cities were being set up, why would they set up a city at a certain place? Well, there's a river there, and so cities spring up around these rivers, but these rivers get contaminated as years go by, and factories and all that stuff. But this is the problem from here to the west coast. There are many urban rivers that exist, and people who also eat the fish that come from the rivers. And a lot of literature out there shows that subsistence fishers are often low-income individuals and/or people of color who fish for personal consumption, not for sport. And they're harmful chemicals such as these PCBs, pHs, heavy metals, which can accumulate just because of their nature, their organic nature. They can accumulate and persist in sediments of the rivers, and then fish then accumulate these chemicals and any other chemicals in their bodies, in their tissues, and then people who consume the fish are at risk of then consuming all these heavy metals and contaminants. Now, both DC and Maryland advise the public to avoid certain types of fish. There are guidelines on what type of fish you should eat and the frequency of consumption, especially for carp and channel catfish, because those are bottom feeders, and then they pick up sediments which have all these chemicals lodged in them. And the problem is that fish advisories are usually ignored by the public, which leaves people at risk of consuming unhealthy levels of potentially contaminated fish. This is especially a problem for the subsistence fishing population, because if you have to choose between starving, being hungry, and eating a fish that looks okay, you're going to eat the fish that looks okay. So this picture on the right is a report called Addressing the Risk. And it was conducted about 3 years ago by a group of several government agencies as well as NGOs, because they wanted to determine the extent of consumption and sharing of fish on the river. And this report is actually available online. It's free, and it's actually an easy read if you want to read it. It's like lots of pictures and stuff, so it's not all 12 pages of just words. So you can check it out if you have some time. It's very interesting. It gives you perceptions of people who actually fish on the river. So this group conducted field interviews, focus groups, one-on-one interviews with fishers, and household survey of people who actually live in the Anacostia watershed. They interviewed 111 anglers along the riverbank, and the results showed that the majority of these are people of color, so 67% African American, 80% Hispanic, 8% Asian, 6% white. And most people spoke a language, not most, 25% of people primarily spoke a non-English language at home. So these surveys were actually conducted in both English and Spanish to try and capture both sets of both in there. And the results show that there's like a widespread consumption and sharing of fish from the river. 75% of anglers who they interviewed are consuming or sharing the fish that they catch. 21% share everything, 39% share most, 35% eat or share some, and only 25% of the people who fish on the river are not eating or sharing anything they catch. That means that potentially a lot of people are being exposed to fish tissues that are contaminated with chemicals that are in the water. There's also evidence that the fish is being shared with high-risk groups or vulnerable groups. Does anybody know what I mean when I say vulnerable groups? Vulnerable or high-risk groups? Okay. 2, 1.
And children.
Right, that's one. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, but yes. So children, elderly, pregnant women, nursing mothers, immunosuppressed people, immunocompromised people. That's what you mean when you say vulnerable groups. And so 12% of the anglers are saying that children eat their catch, vulnerable group. 11% are sharing with wives or girlfriends, some of whom may be or are pregnant. And 46% of anglers share their catch with people beyond their families. So there's actually like a quote in the report that was kind of touching where someone said they come home with fish and their neighbor asks them, like, can I have fish? Did you catch anything today? Did you get a fish? And so, there are people who fish, but they may not themselves eat the fish, but their hungry neighbor is asking, can I have some? And what do? Do you leave the person hungry, or do you? And only 59% of anglers had a fishing license, and you actually are required to get a fishing license if you fish within DC or Maryland. And another reason why that's important is because when you get a license, you also are given information on the fishing consumption guidelines. So people who don't get a license are missing that information. They don't get that, even though you can Google it. Yeah.
When you get a license, do they also tell you about places where you shouldn't fish like this, or do they only tell you what the general guidelines, you should only eat so many ounces of fish?
Yeah, no, I'm actually going to show you the guidelines. They give you like a link, or if you do it online, you download it like a PDF, but it tells you like which type of fish you should and shouldn't eat and how many times per week and so on. I think that's actually the next slide. Yeah, so this is the next slide. So these are the guidelines that are put out by both DC and Maryland. So the one on the left is DC's guidelines. On the right is Maryland's guidelines. So it's a little small for you to see there, but the DC one gives you like pictures of the fish, and it tells you based on if you're children, women, or general population, how much you should eat per week or per month, and what's the least safe, going right up to the most safe. And then Maryland is still similar, but there's no pictures on there. But they do break it down by women, children, nursing mothers. So it gives you a guideline of how many of each type of fish you should consume to be safe. So these are available for download online, or like if you go in person to get a fishing license, and they give you it like a hard copy. So recognizing the risk, or recognizing the potential risk for this group of people, is how Project CESAR, which stands for Community-Based Assessment of
Exposure to Substances in the Anacostia River region.
Right, I had it written down. Very long word, so we had an acronym, Project CESAR. And it was a partnership between us here at the University of Maryland School of Public Health and Anacostia Community Museum, which is the Smithsonian Museum located in the Anacostia. And the Anacostia Watershed Society, which is the NGO I mentioned earlier. So this partnership was seeking to quantify key determinants of fish consumption among subsistence fishers in the Anacostia watershed. We also wanted to assess the social and geographic vulnerability of fishers through photo voice and interviews. Does anybody know what photo voice is? I'm sure that's what photo voice is.
Yes.
Nobody knows?
Raise your hands, you know what photo voice is. Especially everybody in class.
Okay, does anybody want to? Okay, so you want to tell me what photo voice is? Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're actually doing migrants in a photo voice project, and basically one example of photo voice would be to take pictures of areas, scenery, kind of like the ones that you were showing up there with in Anacostia River filled with chat, and try to get engaged with community members to comment on those photos, how that impacts them, what they think about what's going on.
Okay, that's a great activity. That's exactly what photo voice is. So we were going to use photo voice and then interviews, focus groups, identify drivers of fish consumption among high-risk areas, and then also to actually assess exposure to mercury and PCBs for subsistence fishes through biomarkers. So we were planning on taking blood or urine samples and actually assessing what people are being, what these levels are in people's bodies. So we didn't get to all the phases of that project, but we did do surveys. So we conducted surveys with fishers in both English and Spanish, and the surveys asked questions on demographics, fishing behavior, fishing patterns, fishing consumption patterns, and people's health outcomes. So we did these surveys on iPads, and if you look at the middle picture there, it shows like two of our interns giving someone a survey on an iPad official along that Hayes Point in Washington, D.C. Then we also had community recreational fishing days where we provided fishing lessons, fishing equipment, and bait free of charge and advertised it throughout the community so anybody could come, and they were on Saturdays during the summertime and people could come and fish for free. They could get a lesson on how to fish, get free bait, free poles, and we also use it as a time to do educational outreach to people and give them the quick, safe consumption guidelines for fish, educate them about safe fishing, educate them about the potential risks in the river, contaminants in the river when fishing, and also we collected the fish that people caught, and we used those. We then tested the tissues of those fish to see what contaminants were present. So that was Project Cinco. That was dealing with fishing on the Anacostia. So alongside of fishing on the Anacostia, if you've ever looked at the Anacostia during summertime or springtime, you'll see that there are a lot of people who canoe and kayak and basically recreate on the river. So in addition to learning what the effects to people who fish and eat the fish, we also thought, okay, what are the effects to people who recreate on the river? And this work that I'm going to talk about now is mainly what formed my master's thesis. So there have been other studies that evaluated the health risk of full contact water recreation. And by full contact, I mean immersing yourself totally in the water. So swimming is full contact recreation, but there's not much that is known about limited contact recreation. And limited contact recreation is the kayaking and the canoeing and the paddle boarding and stuff like that. So there was one study that looked at the health risks of limited contact recreation and found that on water that's contaminated by sewage, there is an elevated risk of gastrointestinal illness if you just canoe, kayak and not even get yourself immersed in the water. So we thought, okay, hey, we know that the Anacostia has sewage, it's impacted by sewage. Maybe there's that same risk, maybe that same risk exists over here in the Anacostia, because that study was conducted in Lake Michigan. So we thought that the contaminants that are present in the Anacostia potentially also pose threats for the health of recreational users over here. So in terms of recreation that's done on the Anacostia, people do canoeing, kayaking, rowing, paddle boating, dragon boating, sailing, and then they also do recreational and sport fishing. But water quality is not assessed by any federal agency for use for recreation. And I said that the Anacostia Watershed Society does their own assessments, but no federal agencies actually go out and test the water of the Anacostia. And just like how there are fishing guidelines, there are no recreational guidelines. So no one is saying it's okay to recreate 5 times a week or once per week or only recreate in this area. So that stuff there's a gap there, and that's all missing. So the river, everyone knows that the river is not safe for swimming, but people think it's assumed to be safe for limited contact recreation, such as the canoeing and kayaking. I mean, I've actually gone and canoed on the river a couple times, so it's very popular. It's a very popular activity. So recreation occurs at 2 main locations. One at the Billings Waterfront Park, which I mentioned a couple times, in Maryland, and then at Boathouse Row in Washington, D.C., which is very near to the Nats Stadium, if you've ever been down there in Southwest. That's where the other popular spot is, and you can actually rent canoes and kayaks from both of those spots, and you can store your canoe there if you have one of your own. So what we wanted to do was investigate basically how the popularity of recreational activities on the river increases the potential for exposure to river contaminants. And there's very limited research that exists regarding exposures and cumulative risks faced by recreational users of the Anacostia. So we thought that understanding exposures for this population can assist with the development of exposure and also help people decide like when is it okay or safe to recreate and how can you do that safely without getting exposure to these contaminants. So we wanted to answer a couple of research questions. So who recreates on the Anacostia? Right now nobody knows, there's no demographic information, nobody knows who are these folks, how many people come per year to recreate. Is it a transient population? Do people live here? What age groups? So that's one of the things we were trying to establish. What are the key determinants of exposure to pollution among recreational users? So what are people's recreational behaviors? What are the perceptions of recreational users regarding the exposure to contaminants? So do people think that it's safe? Do people think that it's not safe? Do people think that at certain times or certain activities are safe? Those kind of things. Do recreational users feel well informed about the risks? So do they feel like they know exactly what the potential risks are associated? And how can dissemination of this information be improved? And does recreation on the river have any effect on the incidence of illness known to be associated with contact with contaminated water? So basically, do people who recreate on the river have a higher chance of getting sick? So there was a survey that was designed and it was based upon other surveys that did similar work. And the survey was administered through iPads again using Qualtrics survey software, which some of you might be familiar with for the university. And participants in the study could have either taken the survey on their own time, so like at home on their own time, or they could have taken it in person with the study team. So this was summer 2013, and myself and one other co-worker and 3 interns went out to Williamsburg Waterfront Park and to Courthouse Row in DC almost every day for a couple weeks. We just approached people who were going into the river or coming out of the river from recreation, and just asked them to take part in the survey, and we gave everyone who participated a gift card for $10 as like an incentive to take the survey. And that's how we got people to participate. So people were asked about, in addition to all the demographic information, people were asked to evaluate the degree of water exposure. And exposure was scored as non-sprinkle, few drops, splash, drenched. And water ingestion was characterized as non-teaspoon drops or mouthful. And we also asked people to rank their level of concern about specific pollution sources. And we asked people if they felt like they were well informed of the risks, or if they were not, and where they got their information. So this is a map of the survey locations that we went to. So all the little blue sailboat looking things is places that I actually went to with the interns, and we sat there and asked people to take part in the survey, and people took part in the survey. So and then the 2 green dots are the spots on the river that I wanted to highlight because recreation occurs there as well, but that's not where people launch their boats. People only launch boats from Williamsburg and from Boathouse Road because those have facilities for launching. But people can actually row down to the river, so there's some people who you can find around Kenilworth Park and Anacostia Park. So some of the results were, we conducted surveys between March and July 2013, and 197 surveys were completed. I think there were 58 surveys that were self-administered, so people took them on their own time, on their computers at home. We were also emailing the link out to people who said that they couldn't participate at that point in time. And 139 were obtained in the field in person. So that was from harassing people after they got out of the water. So this is a couple demographic results here. So what we see is that most of the recreation. So the left column is people who actually recreate in the river, and people on the right column who don't recreate. So those are the non-users. So those are people who were like riding a bike or walking along the river, or walking the dog. Those were people who made up the non-user group. And so in both groups, most people were female, they were white, they were between the 30 to 44 age group, single, very well educated with a college degree or greater. Made them a pretty decent middle class income, and most people lived in Maryland. So this is just showing you. So one of the research questions is who recreates. So this is also a picture of people who recreate. And this table here is just showing you that there are most people who did recreate have been doing so for at least 1 to 5 years, and most people who do recreate do so at least 1 to 2 times or 3 to 6 times per year. But there are also some people who recreate weekly, more than once a week or daily. And for those folks, those are the people who are most maximally exposed and who could potentially be the most exposed to contaminants. So there's a small group of people who recreate very, very often, but they do exist. Just a couple more results there. So recreational users had increased odds of developing symptoms of diarrhea, dizziness, nausea, skin rash, and lung irritation compared to non-users. But these associations are not really significant. And then there were statistically significant associations between level of education attained and symptoms of vomiting, gender and symptoms of dizziness and nausea. And the association between both full and limited contact recreation has been previously demonstrated. So this is what we were trying to demonstrate here. And preventing and reducing risk of contamination is primarily achieved through reducing exposure. So physical barriers, like some sort of swimsuit or something like that, would be the best way to reduce exposure, along with risk communication. And most respondents, so 57% of the users and 61% of non-users, said that they were not well informed. So they felt like they knew that the river was polluted, but they were not too well informed. They didn't know the details. And those who said that they were well informed said that they got most of the information from newspapers about the river's pollution. And people identified signage, brochures at recreational sites, and use of social media and a dedicated website as ways to improve risk communication. So if people wanted to get more information, these are the ways in which they thought that it would be the best to relay the information. So although high levels of contamination are known to be present in the river, recreation is still vulnerable. So our study found that 60% of recreational users were women and 23% of users were over the age of 55, again bringing back that vulnerable population's consideration. 57% of users do not feel well informed of the risks and there's need for improved communication. So we could do, one suggestion would be to do something like provide real-time water quality information through some sort of text messaging system or some sort of website you can go to see like, oh, it's good today, recreate today, some kind of thing like that. And then previous studies that have found an association between gastrointestinal illness and limited contact recreation. And this may also be true for the Anacostia, but we need more studies to figure this out. And so this work can have implications for cleanup and restoration policies. It can help foster new partnerships, waterfront development initiatives, improve risk communication policies. And so some future work. So the entire study was not completed, and some future work would be to do things like assess exposure to microbial contaminants through personal and environmental sampling, biomarker testing, expanding the scope to look at illnesses that are caused by PCBs and heavy metals, PCBs, pHs, and heavy metals, and risk communication to the exposed population through behavioral interventions. So this is Project Recreate Part 2, which is hoping to be done at some point. Using a prospective cohort study to compare limited contact recreational users and non-users. So getting together a group of people who recreate and don't recreate, and then looking at how their exposure can affect development of illnesses over time. So by taking things like nasal and dermal swabs of participants and collecting verbal water samples to be able to make that association. Doing surveys and laboratory analyses of the swabs to see the microbial content, and then determining the association between recreation and the onset of GI illness. So, where should we begin? Anacostia is in our backyard. We are in this watershed, and the river has cultural, recreational, and historical significance. The river is also a food source. And I talked earlier about the goal to make the river swimmable and fishable by 2025. So these are just some of the reasons why we should care. There's people who go recreate on the river with their families, people who go fish on the river with their families. The river is an important food source. This is why we need to clean it up. This is why this work is important.
So, any additional questions for Rianna?
I know you could clean it up in the sense of picking up the trash, but how could you clean it up in the sense of getting the heavy metals and the chemicals out of the water?
Right. So that would require dredging of the river. So they'd have to literally dredge the soil and sediment out of the river and either replace it with new soil they would take the soil away and it would be like a citizen site cleanup type thing almost. So they'd probably take it to a landfill that's has the ability to remediate that type of soil. But that's the only way to clean it like that is dredging the river.
Yeah, and actually today I have a student who's doing her thesis defense. And she's in agriculture, but she's been looking at core samples in the Baltimore Harbor and looking at various core samples for different contaminants, and then using those chemicals in those core samples to test the toxicity with a certain organism to see how toxic those samples are. And so the point of that project is you have people who live nearby this industrial site in the Baltimore Harbor area who potentially are recreating and also fishing in the area. And we want to really know, from the shore into, out into the water body, how toxic is it? So that would help with the risk communication, also the risk management, but long term, you have to do some type of remediation. And when you dredge, what happens? You resuspend the contaminants in the water column. So now it's released for not just the bottom dwellers, bottom fish to consume, but the other fish in the upper level of the water column to consume. So that's a huge problem with water contamination in our river drains. You have the material that's dissolved in the water, you have the materials on the shoreline, but it's the materials in the sediment. You have a high concentration of these contaminants in the sediment. So if you want to do any type of redevelopment in that area, you have to dredge it. And now you heard me talk about goods movement, right? With the expansion of goods movement, you're going to see more barges up on some of our rivers, particularly in the Baltimore Harbor. You potentially going to have more problem with the release of those contaminants from the sediments, either through the barges themselves or through the dredging to allow to increase the size of the ship channels. You have to dredge. That means contaminants are going to be re-released. Okay. That's
actually happening right now because the Pepco electricity plant that is along the river, it was on one side there too. They were mandated by the DC government to clean up their whole portion of the river, which doesn't really make sense because the contaminants get in the river, but they don't stay in the 6 mile stretch that's in front of the plant. But they are actually testing stuff now to see what the level of contamination is, and after that, depending on what they find, they're going to have to dredge their little 6 mile or whatever it is stretch. But stir up contaminants, and then also, the 6 mile stretch will get cleaned up, or the river is 13 miles long.
And get more, so more movement of other contaminants from other parts of the river could actually be resuspended. and sold. So it's a huge problem. I think I mentioned before how, to me, that process, the Pinto cleanup process, not the Cadillac. Did I say that earlier in class? Cadillac cleanup. All right. So,
I've heard it, but I don't know if you feel
and I told you. So that's part of the problem. And then you asked the earlier question about kind of where the people. So a lot of the fish. So the problem with the fish advisors. The fish advisors, as you saw Rianna show, have certain types of fish and how much they eat. But for me, the fish advisors are not that scientific because it's not driven really by exposure assessment data. You learned a lot in this class about exposure assessment, and you heard me talk about epidemiologic, like epi studies. It's not driven by those type of studies. It's basically driven by some studies that we've done previously and also our knowledge about contamination levels in certain fish. But there are no biomarker studies being done to look at a population of people who've been eating that fish and look at the levels of contaminants and then let that inform the policies. So to me, the fish advisors are very non-scientific. And getting back to part of your question, a huge issue, and for those of you we talked about mapping, those of you doing your mapping project for the class, we do not know where the most toxic sites are. There's no map that says, do not go fish in this location. So that's another big missing part of the risk communication and the risk management. Okay. So I'm actually right now, I'm part of an advisory group that's actually talking to the Chesapeake Bay Agreement about how to update their fish advisors. But I said in the end, if you do that, you can include it, you can have it in every language using the Star Trek communicator. Okay, you know, that's a joke. That was Star Trek. Okay, thank you for the late laugh. Okay. But you can have that in every language, right? You can have great visuals. You can do it through social media. You can be culturally confident. But in the end, you're telling people not to fish. That's not good enough. From an environmental perspective, right? What are the solutions? What are the alternatives? So it's just not enough to say, from a risk management perspective, do not eat the fish. You have to have alternatives. And so that's part of my job on this committee is to say, okay, yes, I appreciate what you're doing, but we have to apply a public health framework to fish advisors and to the overall understanding of the big issues. Okay.
We go with the recreation because so we all know we have to get more exercise. We all know that it's good to be out there in nature, etc., etc. So but then it may be harmful to your health to get on the river and recreate. So do you tell people it's a trade-off? Do you tell people don't recreate because you could get sick, or do you tell people if you don't recreate, then that's not getting your exercise and whatnot. So
and then people ask me the question, like Dr. Wilson, would you allow your kid to recreate in the river? And what I always say every time, no. I don't know enough information about all the contaminants and some of the information about cumulative impacts, right? The synergistic effects. But I know enough to know from a precautionary principle perspective, use precaution. I would not allow my children to recreate, canoe, row. Definitely not swim. Because swimming is not legal. Swim the road. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Rianna. So,